to episode 095 of the Bit Beacon broadcast. It's August 26, 2025. You can call me Kodax, and I'll be your host through this week's episode. So this week, I haven't had any new video games show up. Haven't really been playing anything new. Still plugging away a little bit at Donkey Kong here and there when I can. Well, that's not totally true. I did play a bit of Pokemon Go this weekend, but I'll be talking about that a little later in the episode. But I did have the newest issue of Game Informer arrive. So why don't I unsleeve this out of its poly bag and we take a look. Oh wow, there's more than just a magazine this month. There is a full-size poster, it looks like, folded up, kind of reminiscent of the old Nintendo days. And let's see, this poster is for... what game is this? I have no idea. It's a little beat up, too. I'm a little bummed about that. But some kind of Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering, maybe Dungeons and Dragons, or something along those lines. I do see some Wizards of the Coast trademark stuff on here, so maybe it talks about it a little bit more in the magazine itself. But here on the outside of the magazine, we've got a nice premium glossy format, and on the cover is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. And the story about this game, I guess, that the magazine is calling it Reawakening the Classic RPG. So in this month's issue, the big stories are again about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. There's another story called Rediscovering the Forgotten Realms, which is all about Wizards of the Coast, D&D books that embrace the Forgotten Realms, a setting that you may recognize from Baldur's Gate 3, according to the magazine. Breaking New Ground. This has to do with Grounded 2, a new game from Obsidian Entertainment. This is basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but it's a video game, and you're one of the kids, and you are basically fighting off like ants and all kinds of crazy things like that. Through Sand, Sea, and Snow. This is a story about Giant Squid, the creators of Abzu, and The Pathless, their new game, Sword of the Sea. This game's been getting a lot of buzz, a lot of good reception from critics and players alike. I did hear that they are, that just yesterday, a bunch of people got laid off, less than a week after the game launched. So I don't know what that totally means for Giant Squid going forward, but clearly they feel that they don't need the current size of the staff that they have, and they are basically they shipped their game, and now they're going to go into an R&D or a break kind of phase while they figure out what they do next. And then there's another story called This Is Not a Cozy Game. So cozy games have become sort of a big thing recently. It all started out with the old school Harvest Moon, Story of Seasons farming games. And once that game, Stardew Valley, which was kind of like a fan version of those style games, really blew up and took off, the whole genre has just really exploded over the last few years. And there's all these kinds of spin-offs on the original kind of cozy game idea and everything around it. But this particular article says contributor Jill speaks to cozy game developers from across the industry to learn their thoughts on the label and get to the bottom of why this non-genre is such a phenomenon. And those are the big stories. There's also the editor's note, the usual staff spotlight, the reviews, and they have a... no ads this time. I don't see them doing an ad for their parent company's game either. So yeah, that's interesting. Again, the new format for Game Informer is really so nice. The paper quality is incredible. The printing is so much nicer. I love how glossy these covers are. I love that they come in a poly bag. If you can, recommend supporting the people at Game Informer. They're doing good work. This is literally the last gaming magazine alive in the US now. It's kind of crazy. That's more than just following a very specific kind of a niche, So it's just awesome to see them back, and I've been really enjoying getting one of these every 5 weeks or so. So this past weekend, I think I woke up on Sunday and saw that GameStop was selling a lot of the recently released amiibos anywhere from 30 to 50% off. And this included the Street Fighter 6 amiibos that launched alongside the Nintendo Switch 2, which I did not buy, basically due to economic stuff going on in the United States. These amiibos went to $40 US. Because of course, most amiibos, like most, kind of action figure sorts of things, they're made in China. So I was just not gonna buy it at $40. I was like, that is too much. There was 3 amiibos, and those were $40 a piece. I'm like, $120? No way. But GameStop had all 3 of these amiibo figures for $20 each, half off, basically the price they should have been, and they are in other regions. And that was too tempting for me not to jump on it, especially because my local GameStop had all 3 in stock. I still had my monthly pro coupon, so I was able to take off another $5 off the total. So yeah, I did pick up all 3 of those amiibos. And I think another reason why they were a little slightly higher price is they are a larger format than the typical like Nintendo branded amiibos. They're about 1.5 times the size of the normal amiibos, I would say. So they're a lot taller, a lot more detailed. I am really impressed with them. The characters featured on them are, I believe, all newcomers to Street Fighter 6, except for maybe Luke. I think Luke is a carryover from Street Fighter 5. So we've got Luke, Kimberly, and Jamie. No, I don't think Jamie's new either. I'm totally mistaken on that. Street Fighter people, please don't kill me. But yes, I did pick up those 3 amiibos. Okay, so this past Saturday, I returned very briefly to Gallery Nucleus to attend the second signing event for their 40th anniversary event series, and the lineup of guests this weekend was truly stacked. First of all, my dream came true with the other Naughty Dog co-founder, Jason Rubin, in attendance. It's pretty special that I was able to meet both Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin and have them sign my copy of Jak and Daxter. It never occurred to me that I would ever be able to run into those 2 people. So, it's just, I'm still kind of dumbfounded that actually happened. Also in attendance was, gosh, I'm going to mess up his name, Kurt Marganu, co-game director on titles such as Uncharted Lost Legacy and The Last of Us Part 2. Christian Nakata, environmental art director, and somebody who has been with the studio since the very first Uncharted game, was also there. Of course, Neil Druckmann, co-creator of The Last of Us and current Naughty Dog studio head, had to make an appearance at one of the 2 events, and he did not disappoint us this weekend. He was there. Finally, we had a newbie who's yet to ship a game with the studio. Claire Carr, Neil's co-writer and narrative director on the upcoming game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, was also in attendance. I won't lie, it was kind of a head-scratcher bringing her to the event, given that there wasn't really any games for her to sign yet. But I did have her join in on signing my 40th anniversary print with the logo. She's been a member of the studio for a few years now, working on Intergalactic, so I do think she deserves a spot there. I guess also if somebody bought one of the special 40th anniversary skate decks that they released, that would also be another good item for her to have signed. I did see some people having her sign games she didn't work on, and personally, I wouldn't ask her to do that, but she was gracious enough to just kind of go with it. And, just happy to be there. The fans are excited to see her, meet her. It's pretty cool. I think in a couple of years after Intergalactic comes out, we're all probably going to be begging for her to make another appearance at one of these events. And I think she's likely to be kind of a sought-after get. Overall, I was happy with my time at the 2 events. I'm grateful they got the fans involved in the anniversary. And it was so special that they brought those 2 co-founders out for this experience. And I respect the studio for making that happen. It's important to recognize not just what's going on at present, but also the past and the foundation. So my big story for this week's episode is kind of a personal story. Honestly, it's more of a rant than anything else, but I think it's worth talking about. So this past weekend, in addition to going to Gallery Nucleus, Pokemon Go held their Go Fest Max finale, where players would finally be able to get their hands on Eternatus, but only a single one. Having attended the Pokemon World Championships and having stayed until the end of the night on the last day, I was able to obtain Eternatus about a week early, when they held a special event for attendees with Gigantamax battles with several Pokemon, including Eternatus. Eternatus cannot be captured by defeating it in a raid, and it is instead being treated like a mythical Pokemon in Pokemon Go, where you can only obtain a single one. So what is the point of doing Eternatus raids if you can't capture it? Well, it will get you candy, aka the materials you need to power up your Eternatus to higher power levels. These Eternatus raids would give you anywhere from 80 to 120 candy, an additional 40 or so extra large candies, and Eternatus starts out by requiring 60 candies just to level it up once, with the requirement gradually increasing as you hit certain thresholds. In total, you would need 8,900 regular candies and 8,900 XL candies to completely max out your Eternatus. A seemingly impossible task at an average of 100 candies per Eternatus raid, unless you are willing to buy a $15 deluxe pass that nets you more than 6,000 regular candies and 890 XL candies. Of course, create the problem of players not being able to level up their Pokemon and sell them the solution for $15. It's no secret that over the last several years, the game has become more and more predatory with non-stop events and paid research. But this is the first time that they have ever done anything so scummy. This is the game's first pay-to-win Pokemon. And of course, this happens after the Niantic brand and Pokemon Go team were sold off to Scopely, the makers of Monopoly Go, which generates billions and billions of dollars annually. This $15 research pass was Scopely testing the waters to see how far they could take things with their player base, and sadly, it seems like it worked. I've been looking at comments online, and most players seem to think the $15 pass is a great value. They've been brainwashed by everything that has led up to this moment and are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Anytime I saw people complaining about how predatory this deluxe pass was, people would pile on them in the comments saying things like, "You must be poor." I was at a park on Saturday and Sunday this weekend, playing for a couple hours each morning, doing G-Max and Eternatus raids in an attempt to get a reasonably powered up Eternatus. I was primarily chasing after level 60 on the free version of the pass. Since I already had Eternatus from Worlds, instead of catching a second Eternatus, I was able to get a reward of 890 regular candies instead. Even with that advantage, I was still woefully behind where paid players would be at. I caved, kind of. I used 750 of my Google Play points and redeemed them for a $15 Pokemon Go coupon, which got me the deluxe pass at no cost to myself. It felt dirty, and it didn't change the fact that after 2 hours of Eternatus raids, I ran out of max particles. What are max particles? Yet another currency. Well, instead of using raid passes to partake in raids for Dynamax and Gigantamax and Eternamax raids, you need max particles, which you can collect around the game world easily enough, but of course there's a daily limit to how much you can collect at no cost. Want more max particles? Guess what? You gotta shell out cash to buy Pokecoins to buy max particle packs for the equivalent of $1.50, which only gives you enough energy to do a single additional Eternamax raid. When I came back on Sunday to do another round of these raids, I heard people talk about how they were doing raids all day on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., which meant that they must have spent ridiculous amounts of cash just to keep raiding, and then they were back at it again on Sunday. My Eternatus is now at the point where it requires 400 XL candies to level it up just one time, which means players would need to do about 5 Eternamax raids just to get enough XL candies to level it up that additional single time. Eternatus isn't even a mythical Pokemon. I think going forward, based on the reception of Eternatus, it's very likely that we can expect many more of these pay-to-win Pokemon coming our way in the future. End transmission.